Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I'm your Keeper Michael, and we return to Horror on the Orient Express, where our investigators have entered an all-new landscape. But first, we will do introductions. So to my right.
Hello, I'm Mike, and I'm playing James Robert Fraser, who seems to be wearing a doublet and hose.
It's strange. I never figured you for the doublet sort of person, but it seems the Dreamlands has got a plan of its own. To his right.
Hi, I'm Rena. I play Lady Elisabeth Fitzroy, and I'm surrounded by cats, and I have rarely been happier.
There are an awful lot of cats here on this Dreamlands Express. That is for certain. At the end of the table.
Hi, I'm Giles, and I'm playing Simon Griffith, and I'm deeply concerned that we are closer to Carcosa than ever before.
I mean, relatively speaking, who could say? To his right.
Hi, I'm Miranda, and I'm playing Maggie Bellinger, and I always wanted a pet bird or two.
Well, and so they have appeared. One for each shoulder to pluck eyes or bring you shiny things
A
as
little
necessary.
hefty, though. So.
Yeah, you're going to need some, you need to do some shoulder workout, some lat bar exercises, I think, after all this is over. And last but most certainly not least.
I'm Martin, and I'm playing Richard Courtney, and Richard's having a tough time working out where he is at the minute. He's trying to work out what's going on.
Yeah, it's not just the clothes, it's the sky and the creatures and this strange sort of place.
His device looks different as well. He's starting to wonder whether it might work a bit different too.
That's an excellent question. So we return to the Dreamlands Express, in which our investigators have boarded a train of dreams, one built of monstrous forms linked together by some unknown force, and are currently thundering down this landscape to places they're not even sure even exist. The surrounding car that you've entered, along with the conductor, a gentleman who introduced himself as Henri Peters, has quite a strange amount of accessories. The inside of the carriages are beautiful, wonderfully opulent, even more so than the Orient Express. But you've all begun to notice that the inside of the cars seem to alter and change as necessary. And so when some of the other passengers boarded the train with you, the human passengers that is, the seats in the cars adjust depth and width to fit the person. You see strange moving tentacles that push themselves out of seams and cushions to take a man's hat to put it on a hook, or to secure a woman's handbag so that it doesn't fall during all of the thumping along the landscape as these multi-limbed beasts move you along. It's a pretty good clip. There's a otherworldly nature to it. Your eyes simply have a difficult time rendering at first. And the passengers seem to just melt into the landscape too. They're not shocked by any of these strange occurrences, as if have done this 100 times. And your conductor is far more than simply a man that goes to the front of this express. and drives it. He's at your very beck and call. He's on your elbow when you have a question about something. He's front and center with any sort of inquiry that you may have. He's offering you savory hors d'oeuvres or possibly teas and sweets. He is a wonder to behold. And it's hard to see just where he gets all the energy. The carriage that you're in has 6 relatively similarly sized rooms. And Henry sees each one of you into a sleeping car. And he explains that each one of them is outfitted properly with anything that discerning travelers might need. It's important, he says, to understand that the sleeping car compartments are part of what makes the Dreamlands Express such a pleasant stay. And he says that when I was still in the waking world, like you still are, I had the pleasure of being the conductor for the Orient Express. And so I've taken care to craft everything here to meet that high bar that train did. You can see the ivory corridor that kind of splits the 2 sections of the sleeper car, 3 and 3. Just like the layout of the Orient Express would be, except this is a little bit wider. You can see that there are lanterns along the corridor here, one outside of every room. Some are tinted with amber glass and others are tinted with green glass. The walls between those compartments can be locked and unlocked, Henry explains. And so that if any one of you seeks to have a larger room, or perhaps to share the space for comfort, and he gives you just the slightest brief smile when he says that word, they can be pulled back or adjusted. He simply, and with an even hand, shows you how the walls can move if necessary. There are, he says, a couple of other passengers, of course, in the further compartments, but the one I would be careful of, he turns to you, Mr. Fraser. There's a compartment but 2 sections down where the cats have taken up their residency.
Aye, well, yes, I did stumble a little, and unfortunately one of the wee creatures got under my feet there. So I take it they weren't too happy about that.
No, and the cats of Ulthar do tend to hold grudges, so...
Well, I was given some wee sweet treats to give them, so hopefully that's mollified them a wee bit. I mean, they're only cats after all.
He looks at you just for a moment, and he doesn't reply. He turns to you, Lady Elisabeth, and says, Milady, your stateroom here should be sufficient, I hope, for your stay?
It's marvelous, thank you. Couldn't have dreamed a better one myself.
These silk drapes, he goes to the window. There, you see the beautiful crimson silk drapes. You can simply pull them here. He tugs a very tiny rope, and when he does, 2 yarn-thin tentacles come out of the side of the wall, and they wrap the curtains and then pull them open. And then he tugs like another rope, and then they close. There's a fair amount here of selections of perfumes and perhaps changes of clothes. We have all manner of fineries in each one of the staterooms. Now, I must attend to duties here aboard the Express. Each of the rooms has proper clothes for the banquet later on this evening. So please see to getting settled, and I'll be back to assist with perhaps an important part of your journey.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Peters, just before you go,
Yes.
I was wondering, you say when you were in the waking world, you were a conductor aboard the Orient Express?
He nods.
What exactly did he mean by that?
Oh, well, he kind of stands up a little straight. I mean that when I was still within the waking world, I was a conductor aboard the Express. He straightens his tricorn hat.
But we're not in the waking world now, is that what you're saying?
No, sir. You are beyond the wall of sleep in the land of dreams.
And you are never in the waking world. Is that what you're trying to say to me? Is that what you mean?
I am not trying to say that, sir. I am saying that.
If it's not a rude question, when were you last awake?
Oh, well, he seems to start and then stop. It is not a rude question, sir. And I do take your desire to understand and know more about the conductor of your express, but you'll forgive me, but it is a tale for a later time tonight.
Aye, well, fair enough. Well, thank you anyway, yeah. You say there's a ball tonight?
A banquet, yes. There's finery amongst your rooms there. You'll find proper dress, and please be ready with your mask. He adjusts his. You can see that he wears a very large bird beak mask on his face. Doesn't cover his entire mouth. You can see that he has a normal human mouth, but it does overshadow. It's very exaggerated. The beak is very exaggerated. It almost feels like something out of perhaps Parisian pastimes.
Yeah, that was another thing I wanted to ask you, Mike. Does this chap speak with a French accent? Do we get the impression that he's French? Is it Henri or Henry?
It's technically, I suppose, when other passengers refer to him, they would probably refer to him as Henri, but he does speak with a slight French accent.
Okay.
You think it's French anyway. But he gives you all a bow and says adieu. And he says, if you need anything, you but ask, and I shall be around. And you're kind of left here in this swell of silence after the conductor leaves. You can hear the churn of the beast underneath and the express itself moving you along the landscape.
This is all rather peculiar.
I would say that's an understatement, Professor Courtney.
Yes.
Well, if we're all dreaming, it's certainly a peculiar one. Can't say I'm complaining about it, though.
Oh, yes. What do you dream about? Normal, everyday things, Lady Elisabeth?
Cats, mysterious tomes, all sorts of things.
Oh, this does sound like a usual dream of yours, then.
Well, for me, yes. I'm just thinking it's not perhaps Mr. Fraser's kind of dream.
It's not like any dreams I have.
If I may, speaking of mysterious tomes, do you have yours on you? I have my device. It's a slightly different colour. I was wondering if you had your book.
Do I have my book, Mike?
Your book is not amongst your things.
Well, it's not here. Which rather tells me it's not just my dream, let's say, because it would definitely be here if it was my dream, because I'd find a way to open it in the dream world. I've already done so 5 times over the last few days. In my dreams, anyway.
Ah. But what precisely determines what is with us and what is not?
I doubt if you'll find the answer to that question, Professor. I think we're passengers, not the train drivers in this particular adventure.
Yes, one wonders.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going to see what waits for me in my compartment.
Okay, you're going to go check out your compartment?
I am indeed.
So when you walk into your compartment, the door slides to the side. You can see the tiny, almost assistant tentacles reach over and tuck the door into position, so that way it's out of your way. There is a very similar room, perhaps a bit smaller than the one Lady Elisabeth has, that awaits you. There's a beautiful finery here on every bit, whether it's the upholstery or whether it's the woods here, the curtains as well. There's a small collection of colognes and brushes, things to make yourself perhaps improve the smell of you overall. Seems that there's it seems anyway that there's been a concentration that's been put into making sure guests smell well. And there's a divan here as well. From your travels on board the train, this is probably where the bed is.
Is there a wash hand basin in the room?
Absolutely. And it seems it's got both hot and cold water.
Marvellous. I shall ablute myself in that case.
Oh, that feels really good. You reach for a towel and you realize that it's being handed to you.
This is most disconcerting.
Inside the compartment as well, you'd see that there's something on a clothing hook for you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to look to see, because I know that Monsieur Peters spoke of a costume and a mask for the banquet later on. So I'm curious to know exactly what has been laid out for me.
Well, it's rather stunning. It seems that there is this two-piece tuxedo, almost military-style suit. So it's high gray collar, and then there are epaulets, and then a series of embellishments down the left and the right breasts that run from basically the top of the pectoral all the way down to the stomach. It looks almost like a cavalry uniform. And there are 5 gold bands on the right forearm portion of the outfit.
So, forgive me if I'm wrong, but 5 gold bands would indicate someone pretty high ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially general, something like that, or does it strike me as more naval or military?
No, this feels more like army. This feels more like cavalry. Maybe some type of special ranking. You're not really sure.
It's just a costume after all. And I shall. I'll wash at the basin, and then I shall have a look at the different colognes that there are, and perhaps see which one I think might be suitable to wear tonight. Comb my hair, put in if there's some sort of hair oil or pomander or something like that.
There are an absolute trove of what you would call beautifications. So there are creams, there are colognes, there's brushes, there's mustache brushes specifically. It's definitely something that you have kit like this in the waking world, but this is something different. This is far different.
The brushes, are they kind of quite fine, like sort of ivory backed or silver backed or something like that, or are they fairly plain?
2 are ivory backed. 1 seems to be a tortoise shell.
Very fine. A shave, I think, for a start. I'll get the shaving brush and
A razor comes up from under the sink there, and then you see a very thin bristled shaving gel brush come up as these groups of tentacles begin moving things into position so that way you can utilize them.
I am never going to get used to this.
And then it snaps into your mind. Colonel. The 5 gold bands. That's a colonel rank.
Commissioned officer, I suppose if I'm going to dress the part, I should look the part. And I'll flip open the cutthroat razor and apply some shaving cream and shave the chin, but leave a fair-sized moustache, because as every soldier knows, the size of the moustache is indicative of the rank of the officer. Yeah, and comb my hair and just sort of preen myself a little bit and get ready for the evening.
Very well. I will leave you shaving then and preening yourself, Mr. Fraser. So, anybody else checking out their suites?
Certainly, if there are clothing for me to change into in my suite, I will be there.
Yeah.
I may look different, but Maggie is still Maggie.
Yeah, this robe is, well, it's different. It's definitely interesting.
Very breezy.
It is. And not having shoes in this place is a little off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the carpet is not fine, not that the flooring is not well within your desires as far as level of quality, but with all these little tentacles running around, it's tough to know where it's safe to step.
Yes, so it would be good if maybe I can find some footwear in my room.
So if you go into the divan, you find a collection of clothing. Now they have everything from nightwear to daily wear to banquet dress. It really all depends on what you're trying to get prepared for. So I guess are you just looking over what's there?
There was an event for us to go to tonight, it sounded like, so Maggie would probably want to dress fairly well.
Okay. So with what you find there, you find quite a bit of clothing in here. In fact, it seems to go on for miles, the fabric. Not literally, but it takes you a little while to get it all bunched up together and to prepare it to be set out. So there's a beautiful emerald green dress in here. And it's not a bright emerald color. It's more of a diffused emerald. And so it's not as, we'll say, eye-catching as the dress you're currently in. But the amount of finery and gold piping that has been put into it, along with lace and all sorts of wonderful accessories, this is definitely going to make an impression.
Perfect. Do I know if Lady Elisabeth went to her compartment and if it is near mine?
Well, I would imagine it's probably near yours, unless she's actively trying to stay away from you, which is always potentially possible.
I am in my compartment still, yes. I'm also having a look at my wardrobe, because I'm quite enjoying the very freeing nature of this outfit.
You won't get warm in it, that's for sure.
I'm hot enough, I don't need my clothes to do it for me.
That's right.
Well, I was thinking about if I can part the wall between us, both emotionally and physically. Then I was thinking about like parting it and poking my head in and asking Lady Elisabeth what she was planning on wearing tonight, so that possibly we could coordinate our outfits.
If there is a door between the two compartments, I've instructed one of the tentacles to keep it closed.
And Maggie's like wrestling with this tentacle, trying to get it to let the wall open, but it won't. It won't budge.
It's just like every time you go to open the wall to like get past it, you see a tentacle come out and
another tentacle appears.
And after
very strange.
after a few persistent sort of sounds from the other side, I'll just sort of sigh and let the door open. At least I know I can do it now.
Lady Elisabeth, these tentacles are quite unruly. They almost wouldn't let me in.
Yes, they do seem to have a mind of their own, don't they?
Yes, they do. I thought that gentleman said that we could put our rooms together, but it doesn't seem like the compartments want that to occur.
No, how sad.
Yes, disappointing. Indeed. I just wanted to peek on over and see what perhaps you were wearing, if you wanted to coordinate outfits for the evening. I'm not sure what kind of events our dream has in store for us tonight, nor have I ever been to a formal event in a dream on a train, mode of transport like this?
A tentacle train. I would have been looking for the most brightly colored, outlandish kind of thing I could find, because I don't get to do this in the quote-unquote waking world. And so I just want to gleefully indulge every style urge I've ever had that I was not allowed to do in public.
Okay. So you go into the divan and you open it up to see what clothing options there are. And top selection is something that is exceedingly striking. So you see an outfit. It's not a dress, and it's not a doublet. It's not a tunic. It's a jacket. The fabric is seemingly fairly lightweight, although visually it looks like it's a lot heavier than that. You see that there's a hat that goes with it that goes up in sort of a conical shape and then wraps around your ears, and then there's almost a mane to the hat. There's several bits of fabric that spin off the back of the hat, and there are bracelets and all sorts of accessories. Underneath there's a almost lavender shirt that accompanies it. It's fairly striking.
Rena is excited by this, as Lady E is. Like, I kind of want to wear this now. So I just sort of pick that up and show it to Maggie. Well, I was rather thinking of this. Sort of catches the eye, don't you think?
Yes, I think that will look amazing on you.
Well, yes, everything will.
Oh, okay. Quite a bit more fantastical than what I'm wearing, but that's the colors are still in the same family, so I think we'll be okay.
Are we supposed to be coordinating?
Not particularly. Just thought it'd be fun.
Do make it rather sound like we're a couple, Miss Bellinger.
Just a couple of ladies out on the train.
Out on the tentacle?
Yes. This is quite strange. I'm almost starting to wonder if I'm in one of your dreams, if you're all in one of my dreams, or if this really is a shared dream. Maggie's just kind of like thinking it's all a dream. You know, Maggie's staying pretty lighthearted and kind of just, it's a fun dream. Let's have fun.
Well, I'm inclined to think that it's a shared dream if it is a dream. Certainly I continue to exist when you're not in the room, and I assume I assume you still exist when I'm not in the room, so that would rather indicate that it's not an individual dream and it's not your dream. And then I look down at what I'm still wearing, the original outfit I came in, unless this is what you dream I would wear, in which case you have interesting taste.
Maggie, you look down and you realize that Lady Elisabeth she probably shouldn't open the dress anymore because you're not sure she's wearing any underclothes at all.
Okay.
It's a robe, and that's kind of sort of open, and just she's existing here. And also, you notice too that she, out of everyone, doesn't conform to the standard roles. Like, there is nothing about her clothing style that goes with anything else that's here. And even the outfit she took out to show you, it looks something like out of a dream.
Well, Lady Elisabeth, if this is your dream and my dream merged together, then you certainly do dream in a way that I haven't imagined before. Though I do sometimes dream that I'm in a public space naked, and it seems like that's partially your dream right now.
Oh, only half. Have to leave something to the imagination.
Not too much of an imagination, though. How long until you'll be ready? We should probably meet up with the gentleman.
Not too long, I should imagine. I'm just standing there, just completely unconcerned with anything. It's like living my truth. Should only take a few minutes.
Okay, well, I will wait back in my compartment, and then we can track the boys down.
I heard attract the boys, and I was like, well, I don't think you have any trouble with that.
Track them down.
Yes, indeed. So, Professor, or perhaps Simon?
Am I still sharing a room with the professor?
No, well, you share a wall, but not a room.
No, I'm just going to go kick my legs up on a desk shape in my room while I lean back in a chair shape made from monstrous creature and sharpen my blades and take inventory on all the weapons on me.
Okay, so it looks like you have a hand and a half sword, a short sword, and a collection of daggers. It also looks like you have in one of these pouches you have what looks like a note.
I take out the note and see what language it's in.
It's English.
I will read it.
It says, "Don't forget to wake up."
Interesting. Do I have any red candles in this one?
No. No red candles, at least that you've seen, anyway. Well, you haven't investigated fully.
I will check under the bed for my box.
It's not there, actually. There isn't a box under your bed. You do see a hideous mass of tentacles that seem to writhe in every direction, though. So why don't you give me a sand roll?
And that is a 40 under 63.
Okay. Yeah, you lose a point of sanity, but you recoil physically. The undulating nature of the hundreds of tentacles that are writhing under that bed, seemingly just lying in wait, is a little too much for your mental state at the moment.
Why, these are a nice set of blades. I'll go back to sharpening them.
Professor?
Yeah, so Richard will get in his compartment, have a good look around.
Yeah. Things are pretty well situated in here. You've got a place to rest if necessary. There's a sink. It looks like it's got hot and cold water here. There's a little less in the manner of personal grooming items here, it seems. There are a strange selection of hats, though.
Do tell.
And you have what looks like a small writing desk tucked into one corner.
So what's on the writing desk, or in it, if there's any little cubby holes or drawers?
Yeah, you look around in the drawer here that's there. There's parchment, ink, quill.
Richard's kind of thinking it would be handy if there was a little brochure on the Dreamlands Express, maybe a map or something which explained the history of the line or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, you can give it a look around.
Maybe something tucked in a pocket on the back of the door, or he's going to have a really good look all around.
Yeah, you look around, and after maybe a minute or so of looking in the crevices and whatnot, you turn and there's a very, very lithe tentacle that has reached out towards you, and it has a sheaf of paper in its hand.
Why? And Richard finds himself thanking this thing. Thank you for that.
You try not to think that you've just thanked a tentacle.
What's on the piece of paper?
It looks like a map.
Aha.
It's definitely a map. It looks like it shows the route of the train from Ulthar to Dilathleen, which is evidently coming up next.
Interesting.
It also has the next route plotted out after that. It looks like you're going to cross a river or a lake, perhaps, all the way down to this city called Zar. You've no idea what Zar is or what it means, but there does seem to be a slight route painted out here.
And do we get a rough idea of the geography of the place? Is it just like a straight line with different stations on it, or does it go around mountains or rivers?
So it's quite the selection of territories here, whether it be mountains or grasslands. It looks like there's quite a bit of rocks you'll encounter shortly.
Rocks.
Perhaps some hills, maybe. You do see, though, on the map that Zar is on the coast. So you'll have another crack here at seeing some water.
Richard's pondering this. He's going to take another quick look at his device and just see if it's still there and very much in the same shape as it was before.
Yes, it is in the box as you had seen it before. It's in the same state. It hasn't been damaged or whatnot. But there is almost a glaze on it. There's almost this sheen of light that exists from it. It glows a bit here on the Dreamlands Express.
So Richard's going to ponder that, and I think he's got a question or two for Henri Peters before he steps too far out of the ordinary, I think.
There's a knock on your door.
Richard will open the door.
You see Conductor Peters. Excuse me, monsieur, did you need something?
It's almost as if you read my mind. I did have one question for you.
Of course. May I come in?
Yes, of course. Please do.
He steps in.
I was kind of thinking this is a sleeping compartment with a bed there, and but we're already asleep. We're in these dreamlands, so what happens when we fall asleep here? Do we dream in a dream?
It is a wonderful question, isn't it?
Yes.
My first trip to the Dreamlands was much like yours, I think. I was aboard the Orient Express. I'd fallen asleep after copious amounts of wine, thanks to an Italian businessman, and I woke up much like you did in Uthar. I knew somehow that my life would never be the same, and I was right. But what I can tell you is, if you choose to sleep here, provided your body in the waking world has not been moved or harmed, you should wake up without incident.
So you're saying if I was to fall asleep here, in the Dreamlands, then I wouldn't dream? There wouldn't be another dream?
Oh, no. No, of course not.
One might wonder if you could end up on a train somewhere in your dream in a dream. Richard's trying to be funny here.
He looks down at the device you have. I don't know if it's out still, if just the case is out for it, or if you have it in hand. I'm not sure how you would.
Yeah, I think he'd probably have it in hand. He's a man that likes a bit of sort of tactile thinking, I like to call it. So he'll, if he's thinking about something, he's probably got something in his hands and he's fiddling with it when he's sort of thinking about it. That helps him. And if there's nothing to hand, it'll probably be his pair of wooden dice.
He looks down at what you have in your hand and kind of steps back. Where did you come by that?
It was given to me, loaned to me by a trusted friend and colleague.
I've only seen it once before, but it was ages ago.
You have? Where? When? Who?
Here.
Who had?
On the train.
On the Orient Express?
No, on this train.
How is this possible?
Well, the older gentleman who had it was traveling. He was looking for something.
If it's not too much to ask, could I ask for you to describe him?
Oh, of course. Well, relatively amiable man. English. Beard. He seemed to go on about a great many subjects.
Anything in particular?
Well, he's a student of history, archaeology.
Did he mention his name?
I believe he said his name was Smith.
Yes, he is indeed my friend and colleague. Who gave me this device?
I'm sad to say I've not seen him in several years.
No, he's still in London. If you can remember where that is.
Of course, I remember where London is. It's not one of our stops.
No, Richard will pull out the map. But yes, one of your assistants gave me this. Most helpful.
Oh, shockingly incomplete. Would you like a real one?
Oh, if you have one to hand, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Of course. So, did your professor tell you anything about this device? He points to it.
Very little, I'm afraid. It came, I believe, with a book which explained its operation. Unfortunately, the professor was unable to open the book. And indeed, one of our travelling companions, Lady Elisabeth, is in possession of the book, and yes, we're all trying to work out how to open it.
He seems to mentally push his mustache aside as if he's deep in thought. I think you should be very careful with that.
Yes, Do you know if the professor used the device on the train, or?
We saw it used once.
Ah, and what happened?
Well, the gentleman seemed to walk backwards, as if he was going in reverse. His actions, everything changed. He came out of it soon after that, but he discussed that he'd seen things that took place that only some of the most elderly cats here have ever even heard of.
And did he seem okay afterwards?
Well, he did need quite a rest afterwards.
Yes.
He kept complaining about this, it being incomplete. He was here looking for something, I believe, but he never confessed to me what he was looking for.
Oh. I see. I think I see. How did you know that I had a question for you, or was your visit fortuitous?
You must understand, this is my train. All of the inhabitants within it are my guests. And it is my highest goal to make sure all of my inhabitants are taken care of.
I see. One was to ask for, say, a fork. Would your... And Richard nervously points towards the tentacle. Would your assistant be able to provide a fork?
Something bumps your left elbow.
I look down.
It's a tentacle with a fork.
Ah, yes, indeed. If I was to suggest that I needed an implement to cut something with, what would happen?
I might ask what you need cut.
Purely a thought experiment, you understand. When I asked for a fork appeared, but can I maybe express a need in the form of a purpose or an outcome, and your assistant will find the appropriate solution, shall we say?
If they are simple items, the train will provide what it can. It is what is dearest to me. And so its job is to fulfill the needs and, in many cases, the desires of its passengers. If you need a cup of tea, we're happy to provide you with one.
Yes. You understand, this is a delightful train and such a wonderful experience. I simply want to understand more. It is fascinating.
It is, my friend. He puts his hand on your shoulder. But do us the respect of not turning it into a science experiment.
Yes, I did so wonder what Professor Smith may have made of this. I'm sure he was fascinated as well.
He was. You know that you, as a dreamer here, have the ability to shape the world yourself. That's all that's going on. He gestures to the room. This is just an ongoing dream for me. This is what I have made here over many years. And so, should you wish to create something, then use the power of the dream itself to make it happen.
Are you suggesting that I made the fork, or did you make the fork?
That is a wonderful question.
Richard's just silent, waiting for an answer.
Well, the banquet is coming soon. I hope you are prepared.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm sure it will be most delightful.
I hope you enjoy the outfit that we have selected for you.
Yes, I haven't had a chance to look yet. I'm a little busy with this.
Of course, I should leave you to it. He gestures to the drawer and it opens with the assistance of a few tentacles. Looks like gold and red. He steps out. So while it is a little bit less in the sheer amount of clothing that you find in here, it isn't maybe what you were hoping for. It's the hose, really, and the shoes, and the, well, they're not even pants. They're something very special. So I shall leave you with that.
Yes, indeed.
There is another hat in here. Oh, my. It's very large. And there's a feather coming out the back of it.
What on earth? Oh, I never was very good at this in the real world, let alone this trickle costumery.
Lady Elisabeth, your door opens. Rather quietly, if only maybe 4 or, say, 5 inches wide. And you have a guest in the form of a very small black cat.
Well, hello.
It looks around the room and begins kind of padding very softly around. Jumps into the windowsill.
I just leave it be to wander around and look at things because I know from experiences with cats, like my cat Dante, that if you seem too interested in making friends with the cat, it'll completely ignore you forever. But if you ignore it, it'll eventually come around and make your acquaintance.
It definitely checks your clothing out. It looks in the little wash basin that you have. It investigates under the bed, at least for a moment, until it kind of hustles out from underneath there. And then it jumps onto the seat alongside you. And then still doesn't necessarily go directly near you. It just kind of hangs out for a second.
Make yourself at home.
It looks up at you and kind of stares in very large, like emerald orb eyes at you.
Can you talk? Always wondered if cats could talk in dreams.
It sits up a little bit straighter. Why, yes, of course.
Ah.
I'm an Orient.
Marvelous. It's wonderful to make your acquaintance. And Lady is very excited by this because she's always wished that her cat would talk back to her because she spends so much time at home alone. So this is just like wish fulfillment, fantasy, everything right now.
It's going to look adorable,
Mhm.
which a role which it needs no role for. You smell different.
Different from what?
Oh, everyone else that's here.
You mean my friends or the other passengers on the train?
The humans.
Ah,
You're not like the rest of them.
that's interesting. I didn't know that. What do they smell like?
Humans.
What do I smell like? She raises an eyebrow.
Stardust.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to say. What's your name?
Blackjack.
Blackjack? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. You can call me Elsie.
Elsie.
You're the only one who gets to do that, by the way. Nobody else knows.
Blackjack leaps into the window, and you see the back and forth swish of its tail. It seems to almost ward off the tentacles that get near it. They seem to pay attention to the tail for a moment, and then when the cat has, an issue with them getting too close, like they recoil and stay back.
Where are you going on this train?
Oh, well, wherever it takes us. That's the nice part of the deal with Henry.
So you just get to go anywhere?
Anywhere we like.
That must be nice. I know cats are adventurous. I just never really saw one on a train before.
We have our territory, and Henry thought that the train would be a wonderful addition to the land of dreams, and he worked out a deal. We get to ride for free. He gets to start his express in Ulthar, which, of course, is the best place to start it.
Oh, yes. I was very happy when I found myself in your lovely town. I'm sad I didn't get to explore more of it. It looked quite lovely. You know about the... what did he call it? The waking world?
Sounds horrid.
Yes, doesn't it? But I have a friend somewhat like you in my world, and he can't talk, unfortunately, but I rather think you two would get along.
Well, perhaps I'll see them here sometime.
Oh yes, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up here in his dreams. Cats are great dreamers, or so I'm told.
Oh, Utharian cats are the best.
I don't doubt it.
He hops down from the windowsill. Perhaps I shall see you at the banquet.
Of course. I intend to be there, and you're welcome to visit, of course, whenever you'd like.
Thank you. See Blackjack kind of slowly walk. He walks close enough to rub against your legs and then walk out.
Ah, just like a cat. Well, I do believe I will enjoy this journey.
You all get dressed at some point for the banquet. Is anyone else engaging in any other explorations on the Dreamland Express before the banquet?
I'd like to see if I can find Henri Peters at some stage as well, because I have a couple more questions I'd like to ask him. So I'll kind of get myself all dressed up in my finery, observe myself in the mirror, make sure I'm spick and span, everything's shipshape in Bristol fashion, and then I'll head out and kind of walk up and down the compartment a little bit and see what I can see.
Well, when you step out of your compartment prepared to investigate the rest of the express and probably get in touch with Henri, you find him in the corridor.
Oh, good Lord, Mr. Peters. You do pop up.
I do indeed. How can I help you, sir?
Well, I was just wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about this place, the train and the people, and I suppose. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I look in the mirror here, I see a very different face looking back at me than I do in my normal day-to-day life, so to speak.
Yes, it's very uncommon. Few dreamers arrive here as their, what we would call avatars.
Avatars? I'm not familiar with the phrase, I'm afraid.
Oh, perhaps it's a bit of dreaming terminology that I would use. We would call them your idealized self in that regard. So there is some part of you, he kind of examines your clothing, and then he points to it with just the gentlest of touch. There is something inside of you that's a man of order, yes? And you must have served at some point in the army or the military?
I did. Indeed, I was a soldier during the war.
Well,
yes.
This is part of it, but I would agree with you that any appearance you have here is open to interpretation, and could simply be just it could be just a momentary flash in your memory. Perhaps when you were passing into the Dreamlands, you thought of a memory that happened during a war, but there is a part of you that exists here as that.
So this, I don't know, this avatar you called it, that I see when I look in the mirror here, and then the clothes that I'm wearing, this is not some other person. Then this is some reflection of myself. Is that what you mean?
Oh, indeed, as we all are.
I'm trying to find my place in this world. If you catch my drift, I'm trying to see how I fit in here. I'm not quite putting the pieces together in my head as yet. We all seem very different. Some more so than others, it's true, but we are not as we were.
No, it is a dream, sir, and nor should you be. If you appeared here, and from my perspective, if you appeared here completely as you are in the waking world, I would be very concerned. For your imagination would have gone dead, as a rose does on a vine after its season of bloom is over. These things, we want to avoid them if at all possible. You want to be colorful and perhaps a bit flippant. Yes, perhaps this is all just a bit of fun, and you need not worry, for your place and time here will surely come and go, just as it would in the waking world.
I see. So I suppose this is a little like you hear about the dreams of the opium fiends in Chinatown and the like.
Have you been to our bathhouse?
You have a bathhouse on the train?
Oh, indeed. Just a few cars down. if there is perhaps a memory you wish to relive, or perhaps a experience, some of the hookahs there could likely assist you in such dalliances.
I don't partake. I mean, thank you very much for the offer, but a small glass of single malt is the extremity of my experimentation with the substances which dull the senses, shall we say.
Sure. But tell me, good sir, how long can you keep up your vigilance for? Shouldn't every man be given the opportunity to finally relax a bit? You're on guard, much as the uniform shows, which, by the way, I think you look smashing in it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Very kind of you to say so. I do feel somewhat elevated, I suppose.
Yes. Yes. A colonel, it seems, huh? He taps the right
so it would
forearm.
Seem.
Well,
but of course, I'm not an officer myself. This is just a fancy.
Henry salutes you, just kind of not mockingly, but just
at ease.
Indeed. All right then. Perhaps if you had something of home to remind you about home, perhaps a photograph. Perhaps there's a particular record I could put on for you.
Oh yes. Oh, now that would be a thing. Aye.
Yes,
indeed. Aye.
He extends his hand towards one of the open cars beyond the sleeping cars. Come with me.
Thank you. Aye, I will.
The two of you wander back into the car that you entered the train on, and you see that the seats here have, again, they're a little bit wider, but there's more space in the car than you kind of remember the first time. There's a bit of open space here, and he steps to one side of the car, and then just as he does, up from the floor comes what appears to be a phonograph.
Oh, well, my goodness me.
It grows out of the floor, and he steps over to it, and he says, now, your hands, but put them over the phonograph, and I want you to think about what you'd like to hear.
I'll hold my sort of hands rather tentatively towards this strange contraption that sort of materialized out of nowhere. Like so?
Yes. As if you're... have you ever perhaps thrown pottery?
I've seen it done, but I've never attempted it myself.
He takes the needle down from its position, and the wheel itself begins to spin. And what I'd like you to do is think for me, he says, about the song you'd like to hear.
Aye. I have one in mind. It's the soprano aria from Puccini's Madama Butterfly. O mia bambino cara.
All right, roll dreaming for me.
Okie dokie. So my dreaming is half my POW, yes?
Your dreaming is 1/5 your POW.
1/5 my POW, sorry, yes, I misread that. 1/5 my POW. Okay, let me just bring that up. We shall see what we shall see. Oops. So 1/5 of my POW is 11. It's going to be a tricky one. That's just off at a 19.
You can spend luck, obviously, if you'd like.
I think I might. I think, yes. I think 8 points of luck are worth spending, I think, for this particular. So I shall do that.
I'm going to say that this costs you 2 points of magic. So you reach your hands down, and you have them positioned over the phonograph. And as you do, you begin to hear the sounds of the aria. And you hear it deeper and louder in your mind. And it gets to the point where it's about regular listening level for you, Mr. Fraser. And as you open your eyes, you see the record spinning in time has appeared on the phonograph. And now everyone in the train can now begin to hear this music. And Henri puts his hand on your shoulder and says, I think you have the hand of it, sir. Enjoy your music.
And James's eyes are closed and he just kind of nods his head and smiles as he lets the music just fill him and transport him.
Very well. Maggie, what are you up to?
Following the getting ready with Lady Elisabeth, I assume that Maggie would pop out of her room to try to track down everyone else, assuming it's getting closer to the banquet.
It is. In fact, Richard pops out of his room just as he's finished there, and you see him in this outfit. It's something rather striking.
Maggie laughs.
Do you like it?
Yes. I think it's quite becoming on your legs.
Yes, I'm afraid that's all that was here. I didn't have an awful lot of choice, to be honest.
The red feather off the back of the hat there is something to behold. There's a lot of plumage there.
I compliment a man who can wear a cape so fittingly.
Yes, it does look a little, Spanish, I believe.
Yes. You could possibly fight the bulls with it.
Yes, I'm sure I could fend something off with this, but, yes, quite what, I don't know.
I'm sorry, Richard.
I must say you look, spectacular, too.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you'd have been able to see it seems that Maggie's been outfitted with something rather green.
It's not precisely my style either, but I do think that this color is quite flattering on me.
Yes, it's the same sort of green as the pine tree, I think. Yes, pine trees.
Yes. Have you seen the Lady Elisabeth yet?
No.
This is when Lady E comes sauntering out of her stateroom. And I do mean sauntering. She has never sauntered before in her life, but she is doing it now.
You have a very similar outfit. This outfit that you're wearing now, as far as the cut goes, is a little similar to the last one. The tunic, of course, or the shirt, this lavender shirt, covers where the other did not. But you also have a pair of fairly well done boots that go up to about mid calf. And so it's definitely a style all your own.
Professor, Miss Bellinger. Looking, quite, King Henry VIII there.
Yes.
Why, thank you.
Miss, Anne Boleyn. I may presume.
Yes, I'm not entirely sure where some of our outfits came from, but that's okay. I think if you wear an outfit with confidence, it's more so about you wearing the clothes. You can't let the clothes wear you.
Oh, I quite agree. Just sort of look down at the outfit and smile happily. Well, it seems like your subconscious wishes for an earlier era. It's interesting you're both in the same era, though.
Yes, it certainly seems to be pining for something.
So the three of you standing there in the hallway can see just down into the next car where there's a gentleman in must be a cavalry uniform. Oh, that's Mr. Fraser.
Am I still in the gramophone carriage?
Indeed. You're in a bit of reverie there, listening to such a beautiful aria.
Looking rather dashing there, Mr. Fraser.
His eyes kind of open and with a little start. Oh, terribly sorry, Your Ladyship. I didn't see you there. Well, goodness me, you're dressed to the nines as well,
As always.
Professor Courtney, Miss Bellinger. Well, I think we've all scrubbed up rather nicely.
Yes, I would say so. Have you seen Mr. Griffith yet?
I have not, I'm afraid. No. I've been here. Mr. Peters showed me this quite remarkable contraption here. It plays whatever music you can think of. I'm not quite sure how it works, but I suppose it's all a dream, isn't it? It's all a dream.
Have you tried it?
Aye, yes. Could you not hear the music playing?
This was your choice.
Yeah, yes, it was. Aye.
I see. So, how did you make this come about? Did you just remember the music, or?
Well, sort of. Come here and I'll show you. So what you need to do, this is the way Mr. Peters explained it to me anyway, is you need to stand in front of the gramophone device, place your hands just so, and just kind of take your hands and show you where to place them by the gramophone. Aye, that's it. Relax your shoulders. Aye, now what you've got to do is just think of the piece of music that you want to listen to. Just think of it, clear your mind of everything else, and just think of what you want to listen to.
I wouldn't want to disturb your...
No, it's quite all right. It's quite all right. You want to know how it works, yes?
Absolutely. So Richard will just think of, I don't know, some classical music. Probably something like Greensleeve seems appropriate at this point.
Okay, fair enough. It's your choice. So go right ahead and give me a dreaming roll as you begin to envision it and hear Greensleeves again.
With the mention of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, this seems like the sort of thing that would have popped into his head. Oh, so that's 23, and I've got a 16. So likewise, I'm going to spend 7 points of luck to make that happen.
So what you all hear, and in turn, Mr. Fraser, since your eyes are open, what you see is the grooves in this record begin to wobble as it slowly morphs from your aria into suitable reproduction of Greensleeves.
Aye, that's the ticket. Aye, you have it now, sir.
I see. Fascinating. I thought of a fork earlier, and a fork appeared, but it was carried by a tentacle.
And that's 2 MP that you lose, by the way.
Right. A fork. Aye. Well, your imagination knows no bounds, Professor Courtney.
Yes, well, best to start out with the simple things.
Aye, indeed. Quite right. Walk before you can run, eh?
Yes. Well, sometimes easier to work out what the underlying... He's waving his hand at this point. And I imagine those sleeves are flapping quite a bit when he does so.
Calm your jets. Aye, you're right, it is. But sometimes you just have to let the music take you.
Yes.
Just relax, let yourself ride on the waves. Sometimes you learn more that way than by picking at the threads.
Yes, maybe.
You all hear a bell. Almost sounds like a dinner bell. The compartment door to the carriage that's beyond this one opens, and you see Henri standing there. Now, guests, may I invite you to the banquet? He extends a hand deeper in. Make sure your entire party is prepared.
Very well. Has anyone seen Mr. Griffith?
Shall I pop along and see if I can rouse him if he's in his carriage? Perhaps he's having a wee nap.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Fraser.
Of course, your ladyship. And Fraser will straighten his jacket in Jean-Luc Picard style, and stride off down the carriage to Mr. Griffith's room, to his compartment.
Yep, there it is.
And he will knock on the door in a polite fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Griffith, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
I don't know if you're aware, but the bell has rung for the evening meal. Are you joining us?
I'm sharpening. Come on in. Don't look under the bed.
Much perplexed, I'll kind of open the door and poke my head in. Sharpening? I don't quite follow. Oh.
I have about a dozen blades in front of me on my desk. They're all very shiny, well oiled. Looks like they've been all sharpened recently. Looks like they could cut air. Yes, don't look under the bed.
Why? What's under the bed?
You don't want to see it. Don't look under the bed.
Very well. And he's imagining there's been an embarrassing incident with the chamber pot. Will you be joining us? I'm not sure you'll need quite all the blades.
Yes, I'll be joining you.
Are you quite well, sir? You seem a little out of sorts.
Yes. Let me put these away. And I put away all the blades except for the big two, which I leave on the desk in their scabbards. And so I am armed, but not visibly armed.
Okay.
I adjust my eye patch, brush off my clothes. I haven't changed.
He has not. And that is probably what appears as a red flag in Mr. Fraser's mind. He has not changed for the banquet.
Sir, are you not going to put on your evening dress for the banquet? I think it is de rigueur for this type of event here. The garments that are hanging in the wardrobe just there, sir. Are you sure you're all right? You don't seem yourself.
I am not all right. I am sure I need to eat. Let's go.
Would you care for me to assist you in putting on your evening dress?
Yes, sure. Let's do that. Let's go.
Just wait one moment, sir, and I'll get it for you. And I'll go over to the wardrobe and see what's there for him.
Well, it's something that's likely a bit familiar with yours as far as you go. This is a sort of doublet, almost like the one you had on before, although this one's gray rather than green, and there's a few less... there's no pocket watch on the outside, and there's no golden chains that hang from it, but it is fairly fancy, and the stitching is fairly well done. It almost shimmers.
This'll do nicely, sir. Now, come along. Let's get you out of these dirty everyday clothes and get you into your finery.
All right, let's do this.
So changing doesn't take a ton of time, but one thing you do notice is you get quite a bit less, belt pouches. You feel a little less hampered down by all of the additional accessories, Simon, although you do have more than enough space to hide a blade or two should you so choose. Also,
I do choose.
Yeah, I figured you would. Also, the boots that they give you are like thigh-high riding boots, and they're there's something. There's also a significant heel to them as well.
I slide blades into the boots as well.
Are you sure you're going to need all those? I mean, we're just going for a meal after all.
There may be tentacles.
Aye. It's a possibility, I suppose. Aye. Very good. Very smart. Just the ticket.
So the banquet area is through several cars. You pass through another sleeping car in a corridor to get there, with Henri leading the way. You pass through what looks like a saloon car So there's a bar area here formerly with, quite a bit of empty seats, to be honest. But there's definitely drinks to be had in here if you so choose, perhaps at a later date. There are dozens of tempting bottles that perhaps await your attention. There's also, it looks like there's also a few hors d'oeuvres here too. Like there's food just set out in case someone were to come and get hungry. But the banqueting hall, when Henri leads you into it, is something that is phenomenal for a train. It's a long table that runs the center of the room with chairs on either side. It's all oak inset with teak. The table is set for a full meal. There's cloth of gold, knives of silver, there's ruby insets in their handles. You see beautiful crystal goblets and decanters, several vintages of wine that seems to be available. And the smells that come from this room are something that just arouse your appetite in a real way. Whether it be the fresh meats or the produce or the cheeses that seem to just go on in their selection. There's a big egg at one section of the table. You're not really sure what it's for, but it must be an ostrich or something like that. It's that size. Henri kind of bids you all to come and sit.
Are there other passengers here as well, or is it just us?
There are other passengers here as well. So the three folks that joined you at the platform are here. So there's a gentleman. He looks like he's probably in his mid-60s. He's a bit of a stuffed shirt. He has his banquet clothes on, but they don't necessarily. He couldn't button the jacket, sir, to save his life. It wouldn't work. And then there's a more heavier bearded man here. He's dressed in what almost seem like relatively simple clothes for a banquet, but there are some, if you look a little closer, there are some fineries to them. He's got definitely a heavily laden brow. He seems to be very concerned with something. Darker complexion, and short dark hair. And then there is that unmistakable Elizabethan woman who's gaunt and her eyes are almost even a bit sunken. She must be in her 80s, maybe 90s. She's here. She's got that ruffle collar on still, and she's swapped her outfit for something that's even more grandiose. Henri rings a bell at the end of the table. Please, allow me to welcome you to your first banquet on the Dreamlands Express. You see, the room whirs into action. Plates and goblets begin to move of their own accord, serving up the first course as tentacles large and small begin pouring drinks and serving food with proper spoons. There is no staff here per se. The train itself serves you the meal in almost this chaotic yet in rhythm function.
James has decided just to give himself over to this. This is clearly a dream. Everything is topsy-turvy. No one is as they should be. There's these tentacles making things appear out of nowhere. But there doesn't seem to be anything here that is in any way threatening. And, in fact, there does seem to be, I think he's found from his experience with the music, there does seem to be a way to some extent of shaping events to your liking. So he's viewing all this as just a release from daily life, although some of it is kind of, there's a little bit of inhibition still there, because he's with people that he knows from daily life, but from the waking world, I suppose. But he's really trying to relax and enjoy it for what it is, because it's just a fantasy. It's not real, and soon enough he'll wake up and it'll be business as usual. But he's decided that he's just going to have a little moment of self-indulgence, just because he can.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Henri takes one of the wine decanters and says, "These are there are several different selections here of wine. Most are quite something special, and this one," he points to the decanter that's coming down the table of him. "This is this is the Zug Moon tree wine. I would caution you to be slightly careful with it, if you're not up for something a bit stronger." He pours himself just a very tiny bit of it. You can see that, Lady Elizabeth, you can see that Blackjack is here. He's kind of crept his way into the banquet. There are no other cats present at the time. And he's slowly weaving his way through the table legs and the chair legs to get towards what must be the kitchen that serves the banquet room here.
I'll just sort of wave at him if I catch his eye while he's on his way.
You do, and he seems to acknowledge your presence, but perhaps the smells of the kitchen have taken over his attention.
Unsurprising. I expect to see him again later, so I'll take a seat.
You take a seat. Oh, this is quite the selection of both food and drink. It's unbelievable. As fantastic and fanciful as the meal is, it is also as well prepared and as well thought out in its courses.
Lady E is going to indulge herself a bit more than normal, because the reasoning is if this is a dream, then I can relax a little bit, let loose kind of, so to speak, in a way I can't in the normal world. And I don't seem to have all the same physical limitations in this world, so a little more wine than normal wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yes, indeed. What kind of wine? So there's wines from Sarub, from Implan, the Carthaean Hills, and that Zug Moon tree wine that they mentioned as well.
Something dark and fruity.
Well, Henri explains, this, he taps the decanter he has, is fermented sap from a haunted tree that grows from a seed dropped by someone on the moon. Would you care to try some?
That sounds delightful.
He pours you a thimbleful. Start small and work your way up.
Now I'm intrigued. I'll take a sip of it from the thimble.
Very good. Roll con.
One of my stats I'm not very good at. Oh, 50. It's not too bad. So 28 under 50.
It's amazing. It's pure ambrosia on your lips and tongue. And all you want now is a little bit more.
Perhaps just a little more to go with the meal.
Oh, indeed. Have you found a taste for it? He pours you a little bit more.
Yes, it's quite possibly the most wonderful thing I've ever tasted.
Most dreamers can't stomach it, but you seem to be a hearty one.
Yes, surprisingly.
The kind of older, perhaps a bit swollen man introduces himself as Mackenzie. My constituents in the waking world call me Mac. I must confess, I never thought I would see any of you here, let alone so many. Most of my train rides here have been a little lacking in humans, you understand. At least humans from the waking world.
And where is it you hail from, Mr. Mackenzie?
Oh, well, originally Fair Scotland.
Really?
Tries to smooth his, bulbous form a little bit.
East or west, or north or south?
South, to be sure.
Around the borders.
Yes. I fought in the Boer War, actually.
Did you know?
I did, but turned into a bit of a courier business, you understand. Trying to wage my own war of politics these days in our lands.
So you no longer reside in Scotland then?
No. But I must say, every time I get on this train, I remember that I'd rather be writing poetry. That's my love.
What is your profession then, sir? Are you a politician?
Indeed.
Well, perhaps one day our paths may cross in the waking world. You never know.
Perhaps
And,
indeed.
How long have you been coming to this strange place?
Oh, I think this is my fourth getting here. It's so very hard. I have found that when you wake place, if you don't pay attention, it falls like a puff of smoke. You can't keep it in the box.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that's good to know. And are you travelling aboard the Orient Express then?
Not at the moment, but I have in the past.
Oh, really? I was under the impression that was the way to get here. That there was something about the train that when you slept there, it brought you to this place.
Well, the first time that I came here into the Dreamlands from the waking world, I was aboard the Orient Express, but from what our fair conductor Henri has explained to me, once you've been here once, you can come back.
Oh, really? Oh, well. Well, perhaps if you don't mind, we may speak about this at a later stage. When we're not dining with this wonderful repast that they've laid before us here.
Of course. I apologize. I interrupted your meal.
Oh, no. It's quite all right. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with how you come to be here on multiple occasions. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. And I have to say, it may seem a little self-indulgent of me, but I wouldn't mind coming back again one day if that were possible.
Mr. Fraser, why don't you roll me spot hidden?
Of course. Let's see now. Now I improved my spot hidden at our latest improvement phase, so fingers crossed I can make a 78. Yes, that is a normal success. 58 under 78.
You notice that the man has something on his right wrist. It looks like a handcuff. And as your eyes travel down the links there, you see that it's cuffed to a briefcase that sits on the chair beside him. It's bulging, really. It's filled with all sorts of papers that bulge it seems.
I couldn't help but noticing the briefcase there. Important matters of state, eh?
Oh, yes. I can't seem to get rid of it, to be honest.
Really? Is it here just in the dream, or is this something you've brought through? I understand some of my companions have brought through things from the waking world, although they are transmogrified somewhat.
Yes, it seems. Every time I'm here, this release is clamped down to me. One day I'll be rid of it there in the Gulf of Nodens, as our fair conductor has suggested.
Does it weigh down on you somehow? It's not of your choosing, I suppose, is what I'm saying. To have this thing, it looked like you have valuables that you're attempting to keep secure. That's the only reason I ask. Sorry, I'm prying. I do apologise.
Of course. He grabs his wine goblet and takes a sip. Yes, you hear a voice from the other side of the table. This bearded man with a slightly darker complexion, he speaks up. What is in the case? Wouldn't we all like to see? You see Mac get a little guarded.
Can I make a psychology roll to see if I can kind of, in some way, analyse whether there's something he's maybe kind of holding back, or there's something maybe a little less than honest about this case and his relationship to it?
Sure.
That is a 67, which I believe is a fail. Oh yes, that's my psychology is only 40, so that's not a success.
Hard to say what the purpose of the case is, but it's been made clear that he doesn't like people mentioning it, though.
Yeah, it does seem to be something of a sore point with him, and this other fella seems to know that and be deliberately kind of prodding and poking. I suspect there's some sort of a past history between the two.
You hear another voice, almost a creak of wood comes out of this elderly woman's throat. It's not proper to engage in such questions at this banquet. I would remind you to keep your mouth shut unless you have something pleasant to say.
Is she saying this to the bearded man, yeah?
She is.
Oh, okay. Not to me, then. Okay.
No, this looks like, I mean, just from your past histories and knowledge and service, this looks like a woman that you probably don't want to tangle with. And the banquet continues. Fine foods are had by all. Who else is engaging in any sort of drinking?
Maggie almost certainly would be.
I think Richard would probably try and join Maggie in a drink.
If for nothing other than to forget that outfit.
Indeed.
It is very easy to engage in the drinking. The jovial nature of the banquet, for the most part, outside of a few quips from some of the other guests, is genuine and real. And it almost feels like a spirit that moves with you throughout the banquet, whether it's the first or second or even third course. The desserts that are eventually brought out are phenomenal. And the food, as you eat it, it does not feel like it fills you in the same way that waking world food would. Although the spirits and the wine selections here especially seem to affect you quite a bit. It isn't too long before the Maggie and Richard corner of the table is probably slightly louder than everybody else. And it doesn't really stop either. Music accompanies the banquet eventually, and the entire table, or most of the entire table, seems to be having a pretty good time. Simon, how are you reacting to being served by an accompaniment of tentacles?
I am avoiding the tentacles as much as possible. If they place the food in front of me, I will only pick at what looks the most normal. And I'm only drinking water because I don't trust even any milk that they could provide. I'm sure would come from some horrible moon beast or elephants or something like that. So,
well, the spit roasted pheasant or quail or partridge is pretty, I mean, that's reasonable enough for you to eat. You know, the fruits and the nuts here you might pass on just because they don't necessarily look like much that you've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Do they have bread?
They do.
So I can do some quail pheasant, dip the bread in the juice, and I'll just settle with that. And water.
Okay. Henri eventually appears at your side and says, my good men, are you having a... Are you all right? Are you having a good time?
So your tentacles are unnerving.
Well, I find them efficient.
That doesn't change the fact that they're unnerving. I understand your efficiency. I'm just not in favor of them myself.
I see. Well, I could always make sure that they keep a distance from you, at least as best they can. Would that be all right?
I would prefer that, sir.
Your saucers and your plate and goblin and whatnot, which have been, mostly either accompanied by tentacles, keeping them from moving around on the table or being served to you, you see them pull back, almost like grass burning away. Now, I want you to enjoy yourself. I promise you there is no food here that will harm you or drink. no harm will come to my passengers if I have anything to say about it.
Oh, I do believe you, sir. I'm going to need to get some rest, I'm sure.
Actually, yes. I'm sure you all could use a bit of rest. The music dims a bit. If you would all like, I can accompany you to your sleeping apartments and make sure that you are well prepared for tonight's rest.
If it's time to go, then certainly.
Indeed, milady. There are many things that have to call, yes? Many pressing matters.
Yes, it would seem so.
I would like to invite you back. So, should you desire in the future to return to the Dreamlands Express, I should hope to find you waking then from your staterooms there, prepared for the next leg of our journey, yes?
Oh, I can almost guarantee you'll find me there.
Now, don't travel here too often.
No, wouldn't want to overdo it. Everything in moderation.
Blackjack, get out of the kitchen. He turns, kind of hustles back down through the banquet hall and seems to gather the black cat carefully but assuredly. Now, your mother is going to be very upset if you get yourself sick. And carries the cat back with him, back towards the sleeping cars with you.
Have a good meal, Blackjack.
You can tell just from the look on that cat's face, it had more than a good meal.
It looks extremely satisfied.
Extremely. You all settle into your compartments, which have been made into beds as you've been at the banquet service. Henri makes sure that you're properly cared for and tucked in into some of the finest fabrics that your body has felt. The beds here are unbelievably comfortable. And sleep arrives the moment you close your eyes. No waiting, no adjusting. It happens. And that is where I will leave you tonight. And so I want to thank all of our backers and all of our listeners. We greatly appreciate your support. I hope you're enjoying our travels through the Dreamlands. And next time, maybe we'll be somewhere else. So again, thank you for your time. We appreciate it greatly.